Okay, so good morning. My name is Iqbal Garawal, a Technical Support Manager here at CADpoint. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Top 10 Tips for AEC Collection Revit for Interior Design. In this webinar, technical consultant Lee Milligan will provide you with some top tips on implementing a Revit workflow for interior design. He could go through having that one piece of software that you can create drawings, 3D models, create schedules, make a change in the plan, explore materials, automatically update notes, and work collaboratively with other professionals in the BIM environment. To give you some background about us, CADpoint is based in Crowthorne, Berkshire. We have a team of experts ready to assist you in all aspects of design. We are excited to officially announce that the company was recently acquired by Greytech UK. Greytech UK is an international BIM fabrication and design software developer for AEC and Autodesk Platinum partner across Europe. We are also partners with some of the most trusted hardware manufacturers in the industry, including HP, NVIDIA, etc. As well as software, our team can also offer introductory training for new customers and advanced courses for experienced users to help you get more from your software. Being part of Greytech UK, we can now also offer you a considerable portfolio of technical services and products to enhance design workflows. These benefits include industry-specific Greytech software, additional UK training centres, Greytech Power Packs, technical consulting, and custom software development. So without further ado, I will pass you on to Lee. Lee, sorry, you're muted there.
Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome along to CADpoint's Top 10 Tips for Interior Design in Revit. This webinar is for anyone interested in creating interior designs, residential or commercial, in Revit. My name is Lee Milligan. I'm BIM Technical Consultant here at CADpoint. This video forms part of our, this webinar forms part of our mini-series in our Top 10 Tips. I'll be sharing my thoughts on the tips we need when using Revit in an interior design situation. The aim is to give you a few helpful tips to make your life a bit easier, whether it is merely to create great 2D plans and internal elevations with a 3D model, or detail a piece of bespoke joinery, or for you to hit that BIM level 2 mandate for your interior design. We hope we can give you confidence it can be done in Revit. And with a little bit of setup, Revit can be extremely powerful and enable you to offer new deliverables. Hopefully I'll cover the basics, but if you do have any queries, there'll be space at the end for Q&A. And or at any point you can contact us at support@cadpoint.co.uk. This webinar is not meant for training. It is meant to whet your appetite, to prove that something can be done inside of Revit, and hopefully give you an interest in pursuing that. Okay, so tip 1, moving your brain from 2D to 3D. This one's a bit generic, so not just for interior designers, but anyone using Revit. It might seem obvious that when working in Revit, you are now 3D modeling, but it is amazing how often in those first training sessions, people say to me, in AutoCAD, or I've always done it like this. Revit and BIM are just a CAD software or CAD workflows and have loads of overlaps. But if you go into the process thinking it's going to be a new start, it makes your life a lot easier. These top 10 tips aren't specifically about BIM, but they are about Revit. But the acronym BIM does help here, Building Information Modeling. Or I like to look at it in reverse, MIB. No, not Men in Black, but Model, Information, and Building. The difference in Revit is we have one model, and from that model, our views and sheets are created. They're not separate entities. If a door changes in the 3D model, it changes in plan, in elevation, in section, and in details and schedules. This is what makes Revit so powerful, and it's awesome, but I'm a bit biased. This means no more fudging things in one view and fixing it in another, or accidentally or purposefully for an easy life, leaving something out of a view. it will appear in all other views. That is what I mean by move your brain from 2D to 3D. Make a change somewhere and it changes everywhere. Autodesk call this bidirectional associativity. I just like to say that because it makes me sound intelligent. But that's the key point to Revit. If you make a change somewhere, it changes everywhere throughout the model. So let's go and have a little look at that. So we're here in a 3D model, and I can just orbit around and you can see that we are in that 3D model. The whole point of this is that we have one model. Over here in our project browser, I have all of these different views. So a ground floor plan or a first floor plan, a roof plan, or a whole load of different 3D views. And our elevation. So it's all within one model. If I go back up to my ground floor plan, I'm just going to go into this office area in here and just add in a new internal wall. And notice that the area will automatically update down there as well. If I go into our 3D view, you can now see that that wall has been added there. I've just opened up a door schedule there as well. So if I tile these views, you can see that there's no 3D door in that area in there. And if I move that wall, notice it moves in plan as well. Make a change somewhere, it changes everywhere throughout your model. Now to add in this door, as soon as I add it into plan, you'll see that it automatically updates in 3D. I don't know, did you see there, it also added into the schedule as well. If I make a change to this door, maybe change this element to have a vision panel, for example, notice it changes in 3D, but also in my schedule. Make a change somewhere, it changes everywhere. It's bi-directional. So tip 2, a little bit more specific, I guess. Well, actually, it's for architects, interior designers, structural engineers as well. So tip 2 is linking geometry. Interior designers don't often design a whole building. I guess the clue's in the name. But in AutoCAD and Revit, our interiors have to fit somewhere. So rather than having to model up the building, you are interioralizing, I just made up that word, you should ask the architect for their BIM or Revit model if you can. Now, a Revit model won't be available in all circumstances, but the architect will likely have a DWG file, which you can also link into Revit and then trace over the top of. You should always try to link in a model or a DWG, not import it. This means any changes you make in, say, your AutoCAD file will automatically update in Revit. For those of you that are already using AutoCAD, a little bit like an XREF. Now, for the smaller projects or for the smaller practice out there, you may not be able to get an architect model or even an architect's DWG. Maybe you are just doing an interior of a residential house. In those cases, you will be modeling up the existing building, or at least part of it, for you to add your interior design to. And a quick little tip here, I would say when you're doing that, model up the existing with generic wall types. So have just a 300 mil thick wall, which you will then add your finishes to. So you'll model up the shell and then you'll add your interiors to it. But let's look at linking in an architect's model into our Revit. So here I'm just in this, starting off in my template. I'm going to go into a floor plan. I'm going to link in a architect's model. I'm just going to, in this case, bring it in center to center. And here you can see we've just brought it into plan view, but if I go into my 3D view, it is there also. Okay, I can select the whole model, or I can tab select to select individual items off that linked model, and I can choose to hide it in that view. I can go into plan views and I can cut sections through these in either direction. I can add another one in here. And if we just go into that view, we can see the architect's model. So these levels here are my levels and the architect's levels. And what I want to do, you can see their architect's ceiling level is down there at 330. I just want to align my ceiling level to the architect's level. So I can use the align tool to bring that down. Now we're in collaboration with each other, if you like. If I were to go back into plan view, I can obviously add in, we would be able to link in CAD files in here and IFC files in the same way. But we can obviously add in our own walls into this view as well. So here I'm just going to add in my own walls. These are my interior walls, if you like. And obviously, as we'll be working through, we'll be adding in furniture and lights and so on, all can be added into these views also. Okay, so that's linking in a architect Revit model into your file for us to start working on now. Now, my third tip would be to do with content. I would say the biggest challenge to interior designers, more so than probably all the other design disciplines, is getting content. By the very nature of the job, interior designers have more bespoke content or manufacturer-specific content to place in the model, and as such, the content needs to be accurate. A £5 stool versus a £500 stool generally will take up the same space in a model, which often maybe an architect or at early stages an architect or a structural engineer or an M&E engineer would be interested in. It's just the size in the model. Whereas for interior designers, it's much more about the design and how the thing looks. So, and you'll be able to tell the difference in that £5 stool and that £500 stool. So having the correct content in your model is critical to the success of your Revit implementation. Thankfully, Revit is an established industry leader, and there are lots of options for you to get content. You can find manufacturers' websites. There are BIM content platforms which are out there now, and you can obviously make your own as well. So I'm here on the Orange Box website. Other manufacturers are available, by the way, but this is a good example of a manufacturer having Revit content. I'm just going to scroll down and choose the Revit file. And we can obviously download the RFA file, which is a family file. In this case, on the Orange Box website, I think, yeah, it downloads a zip file actually. Okay. So that's an example of a manufacturer's website, but there are also BIM content libraries out there. And BIM Object, again, there are other platforms out there, but BIM Object is probably one of the biggest at the moment. You do need to be a member for this, but it's free to become a member. And I'm just searching here for a chair. And again, you can see that there's a huge selection of chairs. You can go down and just choose one, maybe the oak chair. And in the same process, you can go and download, and in this case, it does download an RFA file. There's one I downloaded a bit previously. So if I move back into Revit, here's that Orange Box chair, which I downloaded. You can see it's got quite a lot of information in there, quite detailed. And it comes with different types in here. And actually to see those different types, I just need to turn the preview visibility on. So if I go up here, you see that there's no arms in this case. If I change it to EVA, the arms come on. So they've done a lot of work here to give you different types of that chair. Now the chair from BIM Object, we can see there again, We downloaded. It's pretty simple, but it's everything that we need maybe for that type of chair. The next family up here is just one of my family that I created, an interior door family. This is the interior door that I use a lot of. I can change the panel, I can change the ironmongery, or whether it has a kick plate or door access. So I've added this up myself, or maybe even the architraves. I've added this, created this myself, so it has all of the parameters that I can use and make my life a lot easier when using it inside of Revit. In all of these cases, we can load these families into our project, and we can place it in the project. Tip 4, Revit families. I would say this is really crucial for you guys to get your head around how families work in Revit. And families are a little bit like blocks in AutoCAD. Understanding Revit families, types, and instances is crucial to understanding Revit. When I'm training the Revit Essentials training course, this is the part that most people will have problems with or be confused about. Yet for those of us using Revit, it's become second nature for us to understand that. It's integral for you to know how the terminology here. So let's use a chair as an example. If we create a chair from scratch, we call this our family. When we save it, it creates a family file. Now, rather than having to make two different families to create a chair with arms or not, as we just saw, we can add a parameter into the family, and we can turn those arms on and off. I would like to be able to choose two different chairs, one with arms and one without. We call those types. So that's your type of chair, but all created within the same family. Now let's say we have the chair where we want to be able to change the material of the seat, for example. Rather than having to have 100 different types of chair, I can change some parameters on an individual basis or an instance by instance basis. And we call those elements instance parameters. So if I make a change to a type, it will change everywhere that type is used. If I make a change to an instance, it changes just that single element I have selected. And like I said, this always confuses people. So let's give this a little look here. So I'm just going to load that chair back into our project. I'm just going to place it out here in some open space so we can see it nice and clearly. Hopefully you can see it clearly. I'm just placing this, the one without arms first of all, and then two more with arms. Okay, so these two are different types. Okay. So in this instance, for example, if I were to choose this chair and go into edit the type and untick arm visibles, although I've only got one of those chairs selected, the arms are removed from both because I'm changing the type. That's really important. Okay. Now maybe for this chair over here, again, they both share the same types. Okay, they're both the same type. But if I come in and select this one chair and change anything in this properties box, this is an instance parameter. So in here, I'm just going to change this one to have orange, an orange seat cover. Notice it's only changing that one chair as an individual basis. Okay. Okay, so tip 5 is to do with Revit materials. In Revit, materials are more than just how an object renders. A material is a grouping together of settings. Autodesk actually, they call these settings assets in Revit. These assets are the identity, the information about a material, the graphics, how an object will look graphically, i.e. in plan, elevation, section, and non-rendered 3D views, the appearance, the render appearance of an object, how it will render, physical, so structural properties of an object, or thermal, and the thermal properties of an object. A material is a grouping of these assets, which is different from many other programs. So in AutoCAD, for example, we would really only be looking at the graphics or how it will look. So in Revit, we group all of these elements together. Maybe in 3ds Max, we're only interested in the appearance of that object. So in Revit, we group all of those assets together. You could have different materials, so names that share the same render appearance, but have different identity and graphical characteristics. An example could be a grey matte paint render asset. It can be shared between a skirting material and an architrave material. So they're both going to appear as the same grey paint, but in Revit, one is a skirting and one is an architrave. So let's go and have a little look at that. We aim to change maybe the plastic color for the back of that chair then. Okay. So let's look at the material dialog box. But before I do the plastic, let me just go and show you it with a brick, for example. We can search for that at the top up here. And go and find the brick. So here we have the identity, the information attached to it. Here we have graphics, how it looks in elevation and plan. Here we have the appearance. So that's how it's going to render out or look in a realistic view. We have physical, as in the structural elements and the thermal properties for it as well. Let's go back to our plastic. I'm just going to search for orange for the orange box materials. So here we have the orange box plastic black. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that and create an orange plastic. And graphically, I'm going to change that. So I've just duplicated there. So graphically, I'm going to change that to be orange. Notice it hasn't changed the thumbnail on the left-hand side, okay, because this is just how it looks graphically. On the appearance tab up here, and this is the confusing bit, this catches people out all the time, how it looks in realistic or how it looks rendered. I need to duplicate this material again, okay. So I'm going to call it orange and now give it an orange color. So now you can see over in my thumbnail, there we go, we have a orange and a black plastic. If we say okay to that, notice that the plastic for that one chair has now changed to orange. We don't always need to make our own materials either. Revit comes with a huge material library. So these are all the materials in my project at the moment. If I go down here, these are all the materials that come with Revit. And these are shared across all Autodesk materials as well. So, all Autodesk products as well. So you could take that out to 3ds Max, for example, and it will have the material asset assigned to it. Okay. So tip 6 is to do with phasing. It enables you to be able to show the difference in existing and proposed in one file. This is not for the novice user, I would say. It's probably one of my favorite tools. It's one of the most powerful tools in Revit, but it is a bit confusing for new users. It takes a little bit of setup to use it properly, but once set up, you won't know how you work without it. The premise is you become a time traveler. When you're in a view that is existing, you can think of yourself in the past. When you're in a view which is proposed, you can think of yourself in the future. Any objects created in an existing view are existing objects, and any objects created in the proposed view are the new objects. You can also demolish elements at particular phases and choose if your view shows the whole completed object or whether it shows demolished elements as well. You can do this with graphical overrides. I always like talking about phasing because I get to time travel. So I'm in a new document here, and this is the proposed model. And if we, and I'm in the existing view. And if I select an object in the existing view, it tells me it was created in the existing. Now down here we have our new construction. And if I go into one of these views, anything below that is a proposed model. So here we can see our 3D proposed elements. Now we're within one model. And here's my 3D existing. So I can see the difference in one model between my proposed and my existing. Also in my plan view. I've got my existing. Now if I move something in existing, it will update in proposed because I'm moving something in the past. And this object is an existing object. Okay. Now, if I delete something which was created in the proposed, i.e. the new, that doesn't update in the existing because it hasn't happened yet. Okay. So again, a little bit confusing, like we are time traveling. So if I add something in the proposed stage, maybe like this chair in here, it won't appear when we go back in to my existing, again, because it hasn't happened yet. Okay. If I were to add something in my existing phase, it will be visible in my proposed because it is existing. Okay. If you create something in the wrong phase, you can select it and change the phase it was created in. So it would then be new construction. Okay. And that means it won't be visible in the existing phase anymore. So it means I can have one model which shows both my existing and my proposed in the same file. Okay, really, really powerful. So tip 7 is to do with design options. I always group design options and phasing together, but they aren't that similar, but I always think of them as the same. Phasing allows you to see the existing and proposed in the same file. Design options allow you to have different options in the same file. It's a really powerful tool, again, but many people don't use it. I think it particularly suits the interior workflows. So it allows you to have design options to select parts of the model and come up with different designs for that part of the model without the need to create a load of separate models to do that. This is useful because you may want to see how different design options interact with each other. You may want to make changes to other parts of the model and not have to go into separate models and do all of those changes. And again, I think that interior designers probably have to come up with the most, the most amount of different design options because you are dealing with how an object looks. So design options are really useful for you. So looking at this breakout area in here, this kitchen breakout area. Down here we have our design options, and I have two set up. I've got a linear option here with these linear sofas in, and I have a curvy option with nothing in yet. Okay, so I'm just going to go in and add some curvy furniture in here. And there's another piece in here. Okay, and we'll just put that in 3D just so you can see it. Now, I have curvy option down here, and I can change over to the main model. Now, in the main model, you can see that my curvy is the default option, if you like. If I go down to my linear option, we can see those linear chairs, which are in there. Now, in plan view, if I make those changes, you see, although I've made the change here, it also changes in the 3D view. So the default option each time is the curvy. But sometimes I want to be able to see those two options side by side. So in that case, I can duplicate these views and create new views. So a curvy option and a linear option. And then I can choose So first of all, if I change it to the design options down the bottom, notice it's changed in curvy. Okay, so what I want to do is I need to go and override in this one view how it looks. And to do that, we do that in visibility graphics. I can change the design option to be linear in this view only. So here I have linear, and in the next view, we have our curvy options. So within one file, I can have those both options available to us. Okay, one maybe more for the commercial interior designers out there. We have our glazed partition. There is no glazed partition tool inside of Revit, okay? Don't turn off. There is the curtain wall tool, okay? So to create glazed partitions, we use the curtain wall tool in Revit. I'm going to move into my 3D view, and we can see here I've got a glazed partition in there. What I'm actually going to do is delete this one out. And I'm just going to go in and tile both my windows open so we can see what's happening as I add a new curtain or a new glazed partition in using the curtain wall tool. So architecture, wall, and at the bottom of this list, we have single glazing. Yeah. I'm just going to draw that in over the top of this wall. And when I finish placing it, we can see that I have my glazed partition. Now, at the moment, there is no divisions in here, so I can go into my type and I can tell it to be evenly divided by going layout, fixed distance, and we'll say a meter. So every meter, put in a new. I'll divide that up. I can also go in and add in my own elements in here as well. So if I wanted to divide it up, maybe to be door height, for example, I could do so. You can have all of these types pre-set up within a template. So I've got another option in here, which is just a solid panel. I'm going to just delete that for a second. I will undo this. And then in this case, so we've got a solid base. And I want to be able to select the top and change it over to be a glazed top. So the half glazed option here. Okay. And again, we can go in and we can add in our own grid in here. And I can remove sections off the wall also. So, or the dividing spaces up there. So I'm just tabbing through. I just want to change this panel here over to be a door. We'll go for a with 3 vision panels door in that case. You can add doors in without going through that. This is only because we're adding it into a glazed partition. In this case, maybe I want it to be a glass door into here, so I can select this element and change it over to be a glazed door. Hitting spacebar on my keyboard will flip the orientation. Or if I'm looking at it in plan, we can flip it here also. Okay, so tip 9, rooms. Rooms are really useful inside of Revit. They allow us to divide the model up into spaces. They are a physical 3D element, and we can make use of them for finishing schedules, furniture schedules, room area schedules, and even to create colored plans. Because we're dealing with an architect's model, we linked in an architect's model here. What I'm doing is I'm going into the architect's model and I need to tell it to act as a room bounding object. And I can go in and I can place rooms into individual elements, individual spaces, or I can just go through and tell it to place rooms automatically. Just renaming these. I'm not going to go through and rename them all. I'll just do this last one down here. Maybe the main space. So those tags, they're just tags. They're grabbing information from a room. We can make use of these of those parameters by maybe creating a colored plan. So I'm just going to duplicate that view. And then up here on the Annotate tab, we have Color Fill Legend. I'm going to say, right, I want to color this plan by rooms and by room name. So for every unique room name, it will then go and give a color plan to it. Now, if we're looking at the breakout areas over here, the open plan office is going into our kitchen or our breakout area in there. So what I can do is I can go in and add a room separator line from here. And as soon as I close that off, you can see I can then add in a new room into this object area. And I can use other geometry in there as well, like that. So I can add a new room into these two spaces. So even in an open plan space, you can still divide your room up into different areas. And you can customize these colors to go with your corporate branding or whatever. And the last tip, okay, it wouldn't be right to talk about all these tools and not to mention that people typically work in plans, elevations and sections, that in Revit you get your 3D views for free. Typically in Revit, the orthographic view has been our working 3D view, and the perspective view is your presentation views. A lot of designers, though, prefer to work in perspective views. I actually prefer orthographic, but I'm a bit odd like that. But a lot of designers prefer to model in perspective views, and that was being added in now in the last couple of releases of Revit. And from these views, you can then go and obviously do your rendering of your model as well. So the last element here. So if I just move into my 3D view, you'll see that this is your perspective. This is your orthographic view, the default view, if you like. I'm going to duplicate this view and just rename it to be perspective. You can see that I can now change my view to be a perspective view. I can zoom in, I can orbit around, and I can look around. And here's my orthographic view. I can also go in and create new perspective views by using the camera tool. We can have all of these different view settings in here. So I can turn shadows on and off. I can have sketchy lines, play around with lighting, how realistic the view is, and even add in backgrounds through the windows. We can also render in Revit. We won't do it now because it takes quite a while, but we've got our different settings in here that we can render, whether we've got interior lights or just exterior sun being involved. What we can also do, though, is render in the cloud. If I was just to quickly go up and show you some that are done not by us, but by others, these are up on the Autodesk cloud. We can see the type of render quality that you can get out of Revit. And these ones which people have chosen to share, they won't be shared. You won't share all of your work automatically. You can choose to put it up on the gallery, but yeah. These are just random ones. Here's Gerson up in London. In here, we can, when you render in the cloud, you can also do 3D, 360-degree renders. So you can use these for your design work also. Okay. Once again, I'd just like to apologise for that. I'm going fuzzy there, but there we are. We have the end. I'll pass you back over to Iqbal for any questions. I'm just sorry for us running over there as well due to technical difficulties.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for that. Thanks for finishing up as well and sorting that out. Again, yeah, sorry, apologies for that. If there is anything you want us to cover or any questions you have over something that you couldn't see properly within the first few tips, then please do let us know. We can try and cover it again or come to you in more detail with that. We've got a few questions here, Lee. At the start, we had a question from Mark. Is there a database of security devices that is available, or would I need to go to the different manufacturers' websites and download the individual files? So
Revit does come with its own content library as well. So when you're saying security devices, I'm guessing cameras and PIR sensors and so on. So it will come with some of those elements, but probably not the ones that you want. So you'll either go to the manufacturers or somewhere like that BIM object will almost certainly have them on there as well. So you can download them from there.
Okay, perfect. Got another question from Andrew, just to recap on a few of the design options in the design options section.
Yeah.
If you could do that, how to create and duplicate a sheet.
Okay. Probably best not to do it now because it'll take a bit of time. But yes,
we'll get back to you on that one, Andrew. I think. We can definitely get back to you on that.
If you email into support@cadpoint.co.uk, basically the process though is that you select your view and you'll just duplicate the view. The key point there though is not changing it down the bottom where I was showing it, but in the visibility graphic override. So once you have your different design options set, you can go to the visibility graphic overrides, and yeah, you can change it in there.
Perfect. Yeah, so again, just let us know if you're having any specific problems with that, or if you have any problems with what Lee's just said, we can try and help you around that. We've got a question from Amos. Is there a walkthrough the model? Are you cutting walls, etc.? I think there is through Revit, isn't there?
Yes, you can do a walkthrough. It's done on a path basis though. So you sketch your path, you tell it at particular keyframes where you're looking, and you can then go in and yeah, do a video animation around that. I would say there probably are better or other tools to do that with. You can export your Revit model out to other rendering programs, 3ds Max, for example, or maybe Lumion as another option in there, which may do that slightly easier for you.
Yeah, Lumion's a bit easier. Revit doesn't give you fantastic visuals, right? But it gives you enough for you to understand the model.
Yeah,
it's enough presentation wise. Okay, so we've also got one other question from James. So James is working from a lighting design consultancy. Can you import luminaire types and their performance so we can obtain accurate information and be better exporting the Revit into lighting design software?
Yeah,
so there's that interoperability between.
Yes, you can bring in light fitting, and if they're from manufacturers, they will have the IES files already preloaded in, or you can also download your own IES file. So that has your luminaire, which he's talking about there. Revit doesn't do illumination settings, illumination studies. So you can, there is an option to take that onto the Autodesk Cloud and do that. But I know other companies which I've worked with, lighting consultants, for example, I think there's maybe Relux, and there's another one which just escapes my mind at the moment. But yes, you can export your models into those to your actual lighting studies. But in terms of renders for the IES files, yeah, in terms of renders, you can import the IES files, and that gives the correct lighting web output. Any other questions on that? It's quite a specific question, but yeah, I'm happy to talk through that with you in more detail if you need it as well.
Yeah, again, James, if anybody has any specific questions about that, do email us, support@cadpoint.co.uk. We can specifically home in on what the problem or what your question is there and give you specific advice and help you towards that.
But yeah, IES files is the key point for James to go and have a little look at.
Great, and hopefully there should be some add-ons or anything else that can probably help with that as well. There probably is a lot there today. We try and guide you in the best ones for those. Okay, so yeah, I think we are getting to the end now. Lee, thank you so much. We haven't got any questions come through yet. Just before we finish, do post some questions again. I'm just going to show you, just to bring you aware of a few webinar events that we've got going on in the before the end of the year and also in the new year. Please look out for emails to register for our other webinars. We have these in the next few weeks, coming up on December the 10th at 11 a.m. Top 10 tips, again, the last one for the year, phasing and designing options using Revit. So in here, we've got our architectural technologist and BIM manager, Jonathan Reinhardt, will provide you working together with phasing and designing options, i.e. if you have multi-phase projects and you wish to consider different design schemes in any one of those phases, you should be able to do that within Revit. Or if you have a design option that you wish to span across multiple phases, you can incorporate the phases into the geometry within that design scheme. So Jonathan will help you, guide you through that and show you the best ways to do things like that. Coming into January of the new year, hopefully a better year, 2021, we've got another moving from 2D to BIM webinar session. So due to the great success of the previous ones that we've had another chance to show this to you. So are you an architect that wants to learn more about BIM, or do you need to create BIM strategies and include them in your business? Then you will hear from both Lee and Jonathan on how businesses have made this transition successful and how you could do it too. So we have links on our website. I'll be posting links again in this chat for you to take a look at that. Please do have a look at that, and if you want, register for those. One last question before we move. I think just about hardware specs for a machine compatible with Lumia. No problem, Amos. We'll get you. I'll send you some. I'll get someone to send you quotes directly on that one, and give you some more information on the hardware specs of those. Cool. So if there's not any other questions, again, this webinar will be recorded. We'll try and fix this issue with the screen, and we'll try and we'll post it up, publish it on our website, on our CADpoint YouTube channel. Just please keep an eye out for any emails. We'll confirm that so you can have a look at it again. I think that's a wrap then,
Okay.
Lee. Yeah,
thanks very much, guys.
Have a great day. Stay safe.
Take care. Cheers.